My next guest might well be at the Rainbow Rooms one day. You never know. He's a young man who's rapidly making a name for himself in big band circles. Here with the Lerner and Lowe song from My Fair Lady, which was made famous by Vic Damone. Please welcome Gary Williams.
I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement's always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I am on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the towering feeling, just who knows how you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, but they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live. That any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live. Street where you live.
Gary, welcome. Hi. Good to see you. Laura, David. Well, I think you've got a couple of fans here now.
Really?
There were 3 fans.
You're making me embarrassed.
Now, look, it's quite rare for someone your age. How old are you?
I'm 25.
But
Unavailable.
But people would expect someone of your age to be into Blur and Oasis and that kind of thing. I mean,
Who?
Yeah, well, exactly. I feel the same. But why this kind of music?
Well, the first record I ever remember, Frank Sinatra's Nice and Easy. My mum played that kind of music around the house all the time, and I suppose ever since then I was hooked. One of the first concerts I ever saw was, a concert, if you like, a show, was 42nd Street.
Yeah.
And I must have only been about 12 years old when I saw that. And just the big band sound, there's nothing like it. So you can imagine for me now to be singing with one of the best big bands in the world is such a thrill for me. To have that sound behind me, it's fantastic.
Now, there you are, Lerner and Lowe, Street Where You Live. I mean, you're talking to a group of folk here who are passionate about musicals anyway, and musicals, presumably in your line of work, give you really rich pickings. There's so much to choose from.
I was very fortunate because I've only been singing professionally as such for about a year, just over a year, but for the last 6 years I've been working on different musical theatre shows with an amateur dramatics organisation called Stage One, and my voice technically is a light baritone, which lends itself very nicely to some wonderful shows like West Side Story, South Pacific, Oklahoma, My Fair Lady, Carousel, Guys and Dolls, and there's so many wonderful songs. And to have, I mean, My Fair Lady was the first show that first music I performed in, so The Street Where You Live is quite special to me.
Ah, so it's a good one to kick off.
It was very good.
So,
Gary, is this your first television broadcast?
It is.
I think it was marvellous.
It's very nice to know that. Actually, to know that Barrymore doesn't get them all, you know?
What I think is so extraordinary is that, I mean, to do your first television broadcast is a very tricky thing to do, and it's a nervous-making thing, and it wasn't remotely of confidence.
No, I'm not nervous at all.
Oh, well done.
How many people are watching this right now?
Only about 4 million, that's all. No, you're fine. It's a... as I say, you're in good company with musicals because you know that you're going to be well received, particularly with an audience like ours here and with me and with David, who is the archetypal musical fan, because single-handedly, again, having resurrected Vic Damone, you resurrected Mac and Mabel, David, didn't you?
Well, I did, yes, there's no doubt about that. Mac and Flipping Mabel, they call it. Yeah.
Well, where did you hear it?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I had a record of Robert Goulet's, an album, and I was playing the tracks, and I heard him sing a song, I Won't Send Roses, and I thought, it was a beautiful song, but what an extraordinary lyric. Here's a man saying, I won't remember the clothes you wore, I won't hold the door open, you know, if you're going through it. And it was a sort of anti-hero sort of song, and I wondered where it had come from. And then I saw underneath Jerry Herman. So I thought, I must find out, Jerry Herman doesn't write songs for anything other than for musicals. Must be from a musical. And so I found out from the publisher that it came from a show called Mac and Mabel. And I got sent over from America the LP of the Robert Preston cast album. And of course, on it I heard the Torval and Dean music that they'd used, which was the overture to Mac and Mabel. So I decided, having listened to the score, that I thought it was one of the best scores of any musical I'd ever heard, because every single song is extractable. You can play it on its own, and it's great. So on my Saturday morning program that I was doing then, I decided what I would do to tell the story of Mac and Mabel. And every week, I read the story up to a certain song, and then I said, listen next week to the continuing saga of Mac and Mabel.
You see the kind of company you've been in, Laura, on this programme. You've been sandwiched in between the story of Mac and Mabel.
I'm just like, you know, like... I'm just sitting there.
What about musicals for you? Do you get...
Well, I make sure every year I go to London and to see a few musicals, because in Holland, the thing is that we have musicals, but they're translated in Dutch. To tell you the truth, it's not so nice. I mean, Dutch, it's okay, but it's more like a throat disease, you know? It's not really...
What's cats in Dutch?
Cats. Cats. It stays cats, but I mean the whole thing, I mean all the songs and everything is
I suppose
in
it's
Dutch.
difficult to turn Mungo, Jerry and Rumpelteazer into Dutch if you think about it, isn't it? Really?
But you know, I saw the Sunset Boulevard and Miss Saigon. These are things that you have to see. I mean, there's so many beautiful music. I saw and actually I recorded the duet all by myself.
That's selfish. I
It's very indulgent.
No. Barbara Streisand did it too. So why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I?
As long as you did it first.
But no, she did it first. I'm sorry. I'm always.
Well, you maybe nip and tuck the occasional one. You, Gary, are taking quite a lot of them on a tour. You're going to do a tour which is called
Swinging on Broadway. And I'm very excited about it because it's a combination of my two favourite styles of music, musical theatre and swing and big band music. So we're just now... I normally work with a quartet, but we're getting together a 7-piece band, which is affordable but effective. And we're putting together some wonderful... all my favourite songs from the shows, most of which I've had the good fortune to play the parts in context, as it were.
Well, good luck to you with that. I know that David's doing his in Jersey again this year. David, you'll be doing your bit over there.
Sunday's in Jersey at the Opera House, as I did last year. It was lovely with our kind of music. And I'm also doing the wonderful West End in Blackpool. So one charges around. I used to do it, as you know, all around the country with a programme called Any Questions.
But it's much more fun doing it with music, I can tell you.
You don't get any contention.
No, not at all. We'll hear a bit more from Laura in a minute. But for the moment, to all my 3 guests, to Gary, to Laura and to David, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.